my friends. This is Peymon Mottahedeh, the founder and president of Freedom Law School at livefreenow.org. And I'll be bringing you tonight the second part of History of Freedom Law School at livefreenow.org. And tonight I'm going to cover how the roots of Freedom Law School in 1992 turned into creation of Freedom Law School and Freedom Church in 1996, and how it's developed to right now, year 2020, September 2020. In the next following two parts, I will cover the war victories, challenges, fights with the IRS, interesting stories you like. Throughout the years, I'll cover that. The battles with the IRS and corrupt government officials. And then the part 4 will be on the future and development of Freedom Law School and Freedom Church. So let's go back to 1992, a little bit before that, just to refresh you folks. I became a United States citizen in 1989, an American citizen officially, and became active in the Libertarian Party in 1991 very much. In 1992 quite a bit and more. And in fact, I ran to be the chairman of the Orange County Libertarian Party, Orange County, California. And the Libertarian establishment of Orange County got scared, headed by David Nolan, the co-founder of the party, who's now recognized as the founder of the party because the other founders quit the party. And he fought me. He didn't like my activism. He didn't like me talking about income tax. Oh, you're going to go to jail mentality. So even though I was really the second guy before the chairman quit, and I was clearly the guy to be, everybody's looking forward to a young activist to really get things going. I mean, at the time, I was only 29 years old, single, activist, full of energy. And so I brought all the old-timers out of the woodwork and voted against me, got somebody else just to make sure he wins, some milquetoast guy. And that hurt the party, of course. What happened before that, in early 92, April 92, I heard on KABC Talk radio show in Los Angeles that income tax is voluntary. And it was on a program called Bill Handel on the Law in the morning. I took down the phone number of the guest, Tina, and I couldn't listen to it anymore. I had to go to work. So I called Tina at night. And I said, hey, what's this about income tax being voluntary? Now, at that time in my life, I had only filed a tax return once, I think maybe twice with my ex-wife, because she said by doing so, it will lower her taxes. I didn't understand it. Fine, I'll put my name on there. So, in fact, both times we got messed up by the IRS. You know, one time they stole her paycheck out of nowhere, and the other time we got audited, and they forced us to pay him $200 for nothing, a bunch of lies. So I went to the meeting on the condition that she can prove to me there's no law requiring the average American to file income tax. Otherwise, she would refund my $40. Because $40 of 1992 was like, in 2020 money, like $200. It was a good amount of money, and I was young and poor. So she agreed. That was her offer, but that was her offer. If you don't like it, I'll give you money back. So I went. I was blown away that there was only about 4 or 5 people there in this house to hear her. This is a big radio program. Why don't Americans show up more, want to know to be free, taking more of their own money? So, but she showed me, she proved it to me, the income tax is fraud. And I got their program, as I mentioned last time, their $1,500 program. paid for it. Then I got borrowed from my family savings I had, another $1,500 to become a representative to sell the program. And then I heard about Richard McDonald, who had a state citizenship thing. As I mentioned last section, got with him. $800 was his program. Became a top state citizen service center with him. And I started teaching classes in Orange County, California, with a couple of my friends. It was Anthony Hargis, Bill McCarty, and Dan Barger, 3 other guys. Let's start teaching our local Patriot group about the law. See, at that time, there was no internet. So to learn about this stuff, some Patriot leader will come to your area, do an all-day or 2-day seminar about his income tax or whatever freedom stuff. You have to pay $50 or $100, and that type of thing, and then maybe buy his materials. People like Carl Granzi, others, did that stuff. So I learned about all kind of different stuff. There was a patriot movement in America, a freedom movement in this free country. I was shocked. Why wouldn't a free country need a freedom movement? That was proof right there for me that America is not a free country, really. Not anymore. But we have free speech. Okay? Jury trial, Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Many other rights, like due process of law. So we're going to exercise all those rights. And very important, as opposed to Iran. If we're speaking up a little bit, take you in a dungeon, torture you, day after day, month after month. Nobody knows where you're at. They can't do that to you in America. Okay? So we're going to exercise those rights. So at that time, folks, we were in an economic recession, early 1990s. In 1990, recession started, and people were hurting economically. And then at Ruby Ridge, Idaho, the federal government sharpshooter in a standoff with a couple of patriots shot and murdered, assassinated a woman holding her baby in the cabin on purpose. They were surrounded by feds, and the federal government sharpshooter assassinated her holding the baby in Ruby Ridge, Idaho. So a lot of Americans were alarmed by that. That was 1992. In 1993, in Waco, Texas, the Branch Davidian church, the government, after surrounding them, cut the water, electricity, phone, everything off. They set the place on fire and murdered them all. And they said, oh, they burned themselves. They were crazy. Of course, anybody with a little brain knew that was the government's version was a big lie. They murdered them. Turns out the orders came from Hillary Clinton to Janet Reno, Attorney General, down to the FBI to set the place on fire, murder them. And so a lot of people were coming out of woodwork to learn about freedom and our rights to our meetings. And back in 1994, I was in the movement at that time for about 2 years. And I felt there was a need to do classes to bring these new people into our level of legal understanding of the Constitution, laws, and the system, what's happening. So I started teaching the classes along with the gentleman I mentioned in Anthony Hargis' office in Fountain Valley, California. Well, these guys were not that interested, and I was young, and I thought, you know what, I don't need these guys really. It looks like they're not interested. It was my idea. I did it with Bill McCarty, maybe one more time. And Bill is a good man. He's a good Latter-day Saints guy, very nice gentleman, and he showed me how to use a law library. One of the biggest things he did for me was he showed me how to look up the law books, the laws in the Orange County Law Library in Santa Ana, California, by the courthouse. that was a very big thing because now, whoa, the mystique was gone of these legal citations people would throw at me. Oh yeah, that's Penal Code Section 626A. Yeah, that's Vehicle Code Section 1005. Oh yeah, that's Jones versus Temer. 428 U.S. 648. When people used to throw out all these legal lingo out there, it used to be impressive. Like, this guy knows some law. I don't. I need to listen to that guy because he knows more than me. Which was true, but, anyhow. So that was very big. He taught me that. And so then I kept the classes going. Bill wasn't that interested. It was my idea. The whole class thing anyhow. So I did those classes. And what I came up with a 9-week program and covered key areas that I felt people needed to learn. And those classes were eventually developed into this course called A Practical Road to Freedom from Repressive Taxation and Control Level 1, okay? And that's available on our website also, folks, okay? You can see that on our website. This course is there. And I put the stuff that I felt people needed to know. For example, I had learned of the book called The Law by Frederick Bastiat by buying an audio recording of it, a bootleg copy of it at an event, a Patriot event. Can you give me a copy of the law, please, guys? I'm going to show everybody the CD of the law. And I loved it so much. I said, everybody needs to know this thing, the law by Frederick Bastiat. That I call Ed Griffin, the author of the book Creature from Jekyll Island, the authoritative book on the Federal Reserve System. And here it is, folks. It's a CD of the law that we mail it to all for free of charge if you just ask for it. Okay, everybody can have it. Okay, at no charge. You can call Freedom Law School. We get it out to you. We're going to put it on our website also for download free very soon. So I thought, I'll call Ed. I said, Ed, let me get it from your wholesale to get them out. And Ed said, okay, how much you want to pay? I thought he would have a number to give me, but he didn't. I guess nobody approached Ed about buying his audio from him. I said, how about $100 at a time? How about if I buy them from you from $1 a piece? He said, sold. I buy them $1 at a time, sold them for more, and I kept that going for a long time. And so I learned about Lysander Spooner book, The Constitution of No Authority. Wow, what a freedom thinker, Lysander Spooner, folks. Amazing guy, amazing thinker he was. So I was reading up more the philosophy of freedom and legal freedom and practicality all at the same time. And I brought all of that together. The philosophy, the foundations, the law, the Constitution, and practical application of all that. So that's why in Level 1 course, I started talking about first introduction to law, freedom of government. That's the first thing I started teaching was that. And I reorganized the order of these classes a couple of times to make them better. Took out bad content. It was bad. Put out better content. Okay? Second class, introduction to types of courts and hate and income tax. Then a class on introduction to the law library in class, and then one trip to the law library, how they look like. And in fact, if you go on YouTube, type in how to use a law library, that class number 4, I'll put it there for free. Anybody can go look it up and watch it for yourself. Okay, I gave that for free. So I took people physically, showed them what the law books look like, how to open them up and find what you're looking for. Then I did a class on how to write to IRS, state income tax agencies, how to ask for hearings, challenge them timely, how to write legal briefs, especially traffic tickets started with, court procedures, mock court practice, how to be in court, be a defendant. And then class 9 was on techniques and strategies for living a free life. All the miscellaneous stuff that people want to need to know. How about this, Peymon? Social security number, banking, it's in there. Everything you want to know, everything you're thinking, I want to know, I need to know, it's in there. Being a freedom-loving patriot, I had the same questions. So I thought, I'm going to put on this course as much of the answers as I can that I know people want to know. I'm going to put it in there. And there are things that people need to know, they don't know they need to know. I make sure that's in there too. So it was a $130 course, 7:30 to 10:30 every night in Orange County, California. And people used to drive sometimes over 2 hours once a week to come to my classes. Some people would come from Tijuana to Orange County. And I started getting some good compliments from people. Some people said, "Well, that's the best course I've ever seen from anybody." It was 1990, late 94, early 95. I thought, wow, really? You mean that? Sue, you think really that class was really good? She said, yes. So I got encouraged to keep it going. And as I was doing that, every 2 months I will repeat the class. 9 weeks. And I started recording the classes, make the audio tapes available for people. And then after I did level 1 course, I learned more stuff. And I taught them more stuff. I started a level 2 course. A practical road to freedom from oppressive taxation and control, level 2. Okay. There I got to more advanced skills. I learned like how to read a court case properly in more detail. How to advance legal research skills. How to write a writ of mandamus, prohibition, habeas corpus. How to write appeals, traffic case appeals, what I did in there. How to initiate a lawsuit, like civil rights lawsuits against corrupt government officials to sue them. More advanced court procedures. Analysis of court case, how it actually happens, like my own cases, what actually happens, step-by-step game, how they go play it out in court. And how to use the Freedom of Information Act requests to get your files from the IRS. How to use bankruptcy to get rid of taxes. And how to win in tax court and other administrative agency hearings. So this was like level 2 course. Okay, this is really like the high school. Level 1 course is elementary. Came with a money back guarantee. All the courses I put together came back with money guarantee. $130 for level 1, $130 for level 2. Then I did other classes also, but I'll tell you more about this later as they develop. So I met a guy named William Drexler, the former Chief Justice in Minnesota, at a Lynn Meredith seminar. And him and I started doing seminars. I had 200 people in Santa Ana, California, at a hotel off the 5 freeway and 1st Street. Wall-to-wall people standing. It was a smashing success. For me, it was. Because of his name. He was a former judge. Justice of the Peace. And so I had met the Free Enterprise Society at the time. I became a member of their organization. The best group out there at the time in the whole country. Sean O'Connor, the head paralegal, was a very smart guy, knew his stuff. And I latched on to Sean like white on rice. Download everything I could, They did seminars across Northern and Southern California. Twice a year, I would help them, bring people members for them. And they were going down membership-wise. They were broke. I rejuvenated that organization, rebuilt it for them, because I was an activist young guy. Steve, the director, was not a marketing guy. He was a computer guy, and Sean was a legal guy. So nobody did marketing. So I did that for them for many years. And what happened is that in end of 95, and after with Drexler, I felt, I really need to do something with this. I want to go full time. Part time, I was doing the classes. I would go once a month to Richard McDonald's classes, to seminars and meetings in North Hollywood at the Beverly Garland Holiday Inn Hotel off 101 Freeway. And I would sell a bunch of little stuff, and rule books and different books and materials. Made a little bit there. Some Persian language interpreting part-time, studying. But I felt like this was time for me to go full-time. So I said, well, what am I going to do? What do I want to call this thing? I thought, well, it's about freedom. So freedom has always been my thing, be free. Law, because it was about teaching law. And school. So I came up with the name, Freedom Law School. And I thought, okay, I'll come up with Freedom Law School. I bet you there's a good chance somebody might sue me. There's got to be another law school in America called Freedom Law School. They're going to sue me and stop because it's their copyrighted name, like the second Harvard or Yale. But nobody did. None of these law schools in America are dedicated to freedom. None of them. At the same time, I felt that this is more than just that about the law. When I learned about natural law and natural rights from Frederick Bastiat and Lysander Spooner, and natural justice, things like synderesis, conscience, and to me, I always felt this is more than just. In fact, it wasn't about saving people tax money. It was never about that for me. It was always about our freedom and our rights. Live and let live. Have peace, harmony, love, brotherhood, joy, happiness, love together. Live and let live. The prosperity of not having them steal from us, was just the one key part of it. So to me, it has a much more of a spiritual basis, a spiritual purpose. I always felt like I want to do something on a spiritual level as well. And I felt this was part of that. Now, I didn't have exactly the spiritual pieces to put, but I felt it. Because remember, I was born in a Jewish family, in a Muslim country, with Christian friends, and came to a Christian country. And everybody says, I'm right. I got the right religion. Everybody's wrong. I got the right to the highest level of heaven, and everybody else is down below. And I wasn't happy with the God that condemns you for your beliefs. I believe in free speech and free conscience. So I believe that the God is a dictator who wants you to force your beliefs. You got to believe in this. You have to. Never felt right with me. So I started Freedom Church at the same time. I got the website of Freedom Law School, Freedom Church. By the way, right now, freedomchurch.org is stolen by somebody. We're going to get it back. We're in the process of getting it back from somebody, a squatter. So it's not working at this moment, September 2020. But I was early on to get a website going on in 1997. So then I developed more classes. I was in tax court in 1996 and 1987, learning about tax court a lot. So I did a class on how to beat the IRS in tax court from my own tax court experience. It taught me a lot. Bill Drexler taught me a lot about tax court basics, okay, the former judge. Then I had also learned how to beat state income tax agencies from the California Franchise Tax Board, from Free Enterprise Society, and then my own experience. Okay, here's the course, all on CD right now. We're gonna put them online. Audio tape originally, on CD. They all gonna be on streaming internet. In the process of doing that. Okay. And then I also brought other experts who knew more than I did. For example, I did a class with Dave Wellington called Beat the IRS Now. I had a class with Bill Conklin called Beat the IRS at Their Own Game. I did a class with Vern Holland called How to Sue in Jail Criminal Government Agents. Okay. And then I had a friend of mine was one of the guys in my classes was an IRS agent who's a friendly. He says, Peymon, I'm an agent with them. You are right. They're a bunch of liars and thieves. I'm ready to get out of here in a few years, retire. He gave me this IRS's handbook on illegal tax protesters. And I made a course on that. Okay. The own attack plan had it all. And so I put that out there. So I had about 10 classes that I put together, and I record everything. I always sell the live class, this recording of the classes as well as a live class. And then the economy picked up. Turns out people are more interested in freedom when they have time to study in a recession of early 1990s. When the economy got better in 1996, 97, started going, my attendance started going down. So in 1998, I started traveling across the country. I mean, other people were doing that. Lynn Meredith, Irvin Schiff, a lot of other people that I knew a lot less than me that were doing seminars across the country. And I was local in Southern California. I thought, I'm going to go and try to reach out and educate more people about it. So I advertised my seminars. I started doing them across the country. And I would do, for example, Friday night go to a city like Dallas, do a seminar on Saturday, 9 to 5. Fly at night to, let's say, Houston, Texas, and 9 to 5 Sunday, and come back home Sunday night. I would go to another time to New York and then Boston. I would do 2 cities in one weekend. And of course, I still had my courses on audio tape. At the time, I had those available for sale as well. I did that. I made my living that way. And but in 1997, I stopped doing Persian language interpreting. It was making good money for what it was, but I said no. It's not about the money. I need to focus 100% of my attention and time to my future. This is my future. I know it. I was making enough that I did not have to do that language interpreting. And on the long term, it would be the best thing for me. So I did that. My first seminar I did in traveling across the country in Pennsylvania was a disaster. Only one person showed up. But they got going a little bit. I did better. My best seminars were done in 1999. And then in 2000, they were still okay. In 2001, late 2000, it started going down. And I used to sell my courses. Hey, help yourself. My goal was to help you fish for yourself. Don't depend on me or anybody else out there. Like I always say, don't believe in me, the government, or anybody out there. Read the law for yourself. Believe none of us. For the actual words of the law. Be independent. Think for yourself. Read for yourself. So, what happened though is that about 1999, I had increasing number of requests from people to me to provide them help and services, to help them with their situation. Now, I had done successful things like I beat the IRS summonses. I had done that successfully many times. I had done hearings with the California Franchise Tax Board, California State Income Tax Agency hearings. I've done those. I even did, but I was not comfortable doing it for them because I wanted them to take some responsibility for their own future or lives. Because with A.L. Williams Primerica, I learned from Art Williams, hey, empower people. Okay, and I want to empower people. But then again, the late Robert Clarkson, who had owned the Patriot Network in South Carolina, he encouraged me to, Peymon, you should start doing your own organization. Dave Wellington encouraged me, Peymon, you should do your own organization. And the other people asking me, Peymon, I just want to pay you. Can you do that for me? I don't want to get all these courses. I don't have the time or interest to study all this stuff. Let me just pay you and help me. So what happened is that I got married to my wife, Peymon Mottahedeh, in June 24, 2001. And I adopted her two little children, 1 and 3-year-old, Ricky and Jazania. And combination of people increasingly asking me to help them, and the seminars were not going anywhere. So they say necessity is the mother of invention. So I started thinking that maybe this is a time Freedom Law School needs to do another level of, to go to the next level of development. It is what it's been. It's been good. Nothing wrong with that, but you got to go to the next level. And so somebody said, Peymon, I want to pay you for you do everything for me. Tell me how much you'll charge me. I said, are you serious? She said, yes. I said, okay. Let me go figure it out. I sat down and thought about it, contemplated. Well, let's see. How much would I charge? How much should I charge? I mean, gee, to not be able to charge per hour, I'm not an attorney anyhow. But I can do IRS stuff. It's not practicing law, but, unlimited everything, that's a pretty big deal. Well, my years of experience with Freedom Fight Society, with all the leaders I met and learned from, Bill Drexler, Bill Conklin, Dave Wellington, Sean O'Connor, these other guys, all the experience from 1992 to 2001, 9 years. I learned a lot. In my own tax court case, I learned a lot about tax court. I knew more at that time about tax court than anybody I knew out there in the freedom movement. Yes, more than my teachers, because I went through it. And I went to appeal also. So that's when I came up with the Royal Freedom Package. And I'm going to bring it up on our computer screen right now, the Royal Freedom Package for you guys. Okay, here we go on my screen. You're going to see, folks, right now, Freedom Law School's packages. Here we are. Okay, and here's a Royal Freedom Package and Simple Freedom Package. I created these both packages. And the Royal Freedom Package was where I did everything for people, and I thought, okay, if I'm going to put that in there for them, okay, what would I want in this package to be, okay? So what I did, I said, these packages got to have number one, education. I'm still at school, I'm still educating, empowering people. I'll never stop that. So level 1 course is mandatory. You all got to have that as a minimum. The other courses, maybe not, but that you got to have, all of you. I put some other material from others, like a CD of Law by Frederick Bastiat, okay? The documentary American Freedom of Fascism, other stuff in there. I thought the second thing I would want is for me unlimited consultation. You see, Sean O'Connor and Dave Wellington, my teachers, liked me. And I always, if I had a question, could call Dave and could call Sean. Hey, Sean, what do you think about this? Hey, Dave, how does that work? And they always answer my questions. It was wonderful to have somebody with more knowledge and experience than me be there I could rely on for assistance. I could lean on. So I thought, well, everybody wants that, somebody more knowledgeable and experienced to lean on. So I'll be that for them. I decided that's what I'll do. So I included unlimited consultation. Second thing was, Free Enterprise Society had the Criminal Legal Defense Fund that they would pay for your attorneys and legal expenses in case the government came after you for criminal tax charges. I was a member. I was marketing it. Getting paid a little money for referrals, that, by the way. And I said, I'm going to include that. That's a good plan. I believe in it because it's smart to be protected. I want to be protected. I was since 1995 a member. I had everybody else join, become their members, and get that peace of mind that I'm protected just in case my number gets called. I'm not alone by myself. What am I going to do? I don't want to go to jail. What am I going to do? That peace of mind was there. But the third thing that added was unique. Up until then, every organization out there that I've ever known about, anybody, for everything they did for you, here's $100 for this, $200 for that letter, $500 for that. They charge you for this and that and the other. And what I saw is that people would start the process, they would not finish, they would give up. I would go to franchise tax board hearings, the government would rule against them, but on appeal they would drop it, skip it, forget about it. It was a waste of their money and my time. Why do it? If you're not going to fight to win, don't do it. So I thought, I'm going to do it right. We're going to fight to win. Therefore, my program included everything, all the way to winning. The highest level we can go, we'll go to win. And based upon that principle, that's when I said all the work will be done at no extra charge. All the way up. No matter what it takes. And that became the Royal Freedom Package. It was $5,000 to start and $2,000 per year for second year each year thereafter. And I created a simple freedom package. The second program I'll show on the screen right now. This is what you see right now is the Royal Freedom Package. The simple freedom package, little sister of that program. Here it is. The only thing lacking here was I didn't have that all the letter writing responsible would be done for you. Okay? That's the only difference between the two programs. And the simple freedom package was $4,000 to start and $900 for second year and each year thereafter. And that was designed for someone like me, myself. More courses, 3 additional courses. But all our response is, I teach you, do it yourself. The extra courses I had, how to go to a tax court, meet state income tax agencies, level 2 course, where I throw it in there. You do it yourself, but I'll give you support. Unlimited consultation, the same way I had with Dave Wellington and Sean O'Connor. To my surprise, about 90% of people, most people wanted and got the Royal Freedom Package, not the simple freedom package. Well, okay, that's people's choice. They have a choice. There was very few people like me, young, want to learn to do it on their own. They rather just pay more and get someone to take care of it and give them the peace of mind that they wanted. So that's what I did. And at first, the all the pre-existing charges were included. The person came in with a situation, I did it. But then I realized, wait a minute. Someone joins with a mess. That's got to be extra pre-existing mess. People need to come to me clean. Otherwise I charge them extra. So I started doing that. To be fair, to people that came to me clean had no pre-existing problems. Okay? And that was a good thing. At first also I used to hire attorneys. I did hire attorneys several times to represent people in tax court. But guess what? Every time I got an attorney, they messed it up. First of all, I could only get a very few patriotic attorneys around to get the job done. I hired only maybe 1, 2, 3 attorneys I ever could find to represent people. I couldn't get other attorneys to do it. The tax attorneys, half of them are former IRS agents. Okay. Like IRS criminal agents themselves. I couldn't trust them. They wouldn't trust me either. And if they were not a former IRS agent themselves, if I hired them, like one time I hired a lady who was not a IRS agent before. I told her, look, lady, you need to work with me to help this person. After I hired her, paid her the money, within a few days, she sent my money back. She looked me up online. Oh, Freedom Law School. Oh, tax protester. No, can't work with you. So then I try to get non-tax lawyers to represent people. I said, look, you're a lawyer. You can represent people before the courts. I can't. I'm not an attorney. I'll tell you everything what you need to do. Don't worry. I know this game. I've done it. And the attorneys would say, no, I won't do the case I don't know about, especially taxes. They were afraid of the IRS. I couldn't get attorneys to do the cases. Not to mention they charged too much. Not to mention they messed it up. And I couldn't control them. They wouldn't take direction necessarily from me. They would go in there and mess it up. Even good attorneys that I liked. Because they had not done it before. They were new. You see? Me being a poor activist patriot and doing everything inexpensively for people as much as I could, because I was poor, young and poor. I got a lot of experience. So I learned a lot. It was actually a real law school out there, learning this stuff, on-the-job training. So I learned a lot, more than attorneys knew. And attorneys got this thing like, hey, I got a 4-year degree. Well, so do I. I got a bachelor's degree. I went to 3 years of law school, passed the bar exam, and I got the bar license, and I'm officially a lawyer. You're not. You're just a paralegal. There's this ego thing, like you're lesser than them. So they have trouble working with someone who's not an attorney, telling them what to do. Great numbers of them have that problem. Great numbers. So eventually, after a few years, I just said, forget it. Attorneys cost too much money anyhow. They don't do any better than me helping people myself. So I stopped using attorneys, except the criminal cases that may have come, okay? So very, very rare criminal cases we've had. And mostly it's money the IRS wants from people. So then also what happened is that I used to go to annual meetings of Free Enterprise Society. Free Enterprise Society from Fresno, California. It's basically a defunct organization now. And by the way, Steve, the head of that, got a fight with his right-hand man, Sean, fired him, the crown jewel. They were going down because they didn't want me to help them anymore. And that was the end of the organization practically. Then Steve starts stealing from the legal defense fund money himself, and there's just nothing there. It's just a shell. And it's unfortunate how that organization ended, because they could have done a lot more. But anyhow, they had done great tax freedom rallies every year since that I knew of, since like late 80s. In 1994, they had 400 people on their tax freedom rally in San Jose, and that's where I met Sheriff Richard Mack, and Sheriff Mack and I became, at that time, friends still over the years, activists together. And I liked their annual events, which is so fun. Once a year, go to a meeting with several hundred people, whole weekend. We were over a dozen speakers, talking about all the stuff that you want to learn about. And being around like-minded people that understood the truth, cared about the truth and freedom like you did. It was just very fun. So I told Steve, I said, look, I want you guys to do an event down in Southern California where I'm at. So we did one together in Southern California in 1998. And I got more hands-on because I was involved with it locally. Then in 1999, I started doing them myself. And that's the first meeting ever, by the way, that Joe Banister, the former IRS special agent of the IRS that defected to the freedom movement, spoke publicly. And I did that from 1999 to 2014. Every year, some years, I did 2 of them. Okay, it was a lot of fun. Every year, I worked a lot at it. Every year, the events lost money. The events never made money. Maybe broke even at best. But it was good publicity for Freedom Law School. That was worth it. And our integrity and credibility that Freedom Law School is a true, dedicated organization, dedicated to freedom and educating and empowering people, doing the right thing. So I knew I had to do that. It was just part of our mission was to educate the American people at large, So the events were doing good for the first few years, but after video on internet, YouTube got going. In 2004, the meeting started, attendance going down rapidly. And I tried different things to get them up. But no. When you can watch someone for free on YouTube or internet, why would you fly out there, get a hotel room, airline tickets, take several days out of your time to go listen to a bunch of speakers? Now you can do it for free on YouTube, on internet, right? On BitChute. So I even tried throwing meetings. One year I did was free. Attend for free. Make donation. Still didn't change. I did health and freedom rallies. I did freedom rally with 9/11 involved. Freedom and anti-war involvement. No matter what I did to spice it up, changed it, the numbers kept going down, attendance. So when I moved to Florida in 2014, that was I did one last one in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, and we had only about, believe it or not, roughly about 20 paid people only. It was that bad, but hey, you gotta end it, right? I said that was not a good use of our members and supporters' money. I gotta do a better job. I'll put in their commitment and resources to reach out people. And that is why, of course, online is where our outreach is to people, as you know. Meanwhile, one of the most interesting things that happened is that in 1997, I met Bill Conklin. As a result of meeting Bill Conklin, I met Joseph Banister. Joseph Banister was a criminal investigation division agent with the IRS's, CID division, special agent. He heard on DV Kids radio program, on the interview on Jed Metcalf's show in San Jose, California, about income tax is voluntary. got Deevy's book, and the book refers to Bill Conklin. Call Deevy, call Bill Conklin. Bill Conklin says, call my friend Peymon. You need to talk to him. And Joe called me. I said, Joe, no problem. If you want to be educated, we'll educate you. He said, Peymon, I just want to know the truth. I'm not here to investigate you. I'm here as an individual and in my private capacity to try to see if this is true. So I educated him, gave him a level 1 course like this, but I labeled the audio tapes Midnight Basketball. So in case his bosses at the IRS saw his audio tape in his government car, listening to Freedom Law School audio tapes, he would not get in trouble. Okay? So I gave him that. Met him in 1998 one time when he was in Southern California visiting. I introduced him to Sean O'Connor, Dave Willington, Steve Hempfling, former head of FBI, Ted Gunderson, you know, all the top guys in the movement, the freedom movement. Hey, and then could you give me a copy of his books, please, guys? His old original books, several versions of those, please. On the, I forgot to bring those. He's all the versions of his books on the shelves. So he told me back in 1998, Peymon, I'm going to write a book about my conclusions about the income tax. He talked to Bill Benson about the non-ratification of the 16th Amendment of the Constitution, the so-called income tax amendment. So he said, I'm going to write a book on the topic. I said, great, go for it, Joe. And then I edited his book, proofed it for him, and we planned for him to go public with his findings at Freedom Law School's first Freedom Rally, March 11th and 12th of 1999. And the brochure said, you know, IRS official coming out saying no law requires American to file and pay income tax. No picture. No photo of Joe Banister. So once I edited his book of Joe, and then, the other one's on this other shelf, right here, this one right here, I'll give a high level, He said, Peymon, I gave the book to my supervisor at the IRS, along with a cover letter to the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, Charles Rosati, to refute my findings that the average American is not required to file income tax, and how they gave up the right to be silent, the Fifth Amendment right to be silent, that the Constitution guarantees the right to be silent, how they give it up when they file 1040 forms, and about the Sixth Amendment being not ratified, and the money system, and a little bit. Okay, that was not the plan, but okay. So that was in January of 1999. The IRS manager sent his book to headquarters of IRS in D.C. They gave him a week off to think about it because they're not going to respond to him. They said, we're not going to answer you. You can leave if you want. We're not going to refute you at all. Not even bothering. And then in February 24, 1999, he resigned. He said, look, I cannot have two masters. Either my oath to uphold the Constitution is my master, or what my boss is telling me. I cannot have two masters, and I'm going to go with my oath to God, the American people, to uphold the U.S. Constitution. He resigned. And I urged Joe not to quit. I said, Joe, stay in. Give him help from within. We're outside. You actually could do more on the inside than us on the outside. Let them fire you if they need to. But Joe was naive at the time. They didn't know. At that time, he thought media in America was honest. Once he came out, the whole thing will be out all of the media. the income tax, but the publicity will be over. And when he spoke at our Freedom Rally in 1999, I had for him faxed all the radio stations, newspapers, everything in Southern California. I got a good list from somebody. And none of them showed up. Not one showed up to this event that had over 300 people in it at Newport Beach Hotel. Okay, at Radisson Hotel. Not one. On this shelf, eye level. No, it's all shelf back there. You see it on standing on eye level. Yeah, on this one, yeah. So, you know, it was just like, okay. And I published his book form, printed his book form in a hurry. Literally the book, I had to design his book in a hurry because I was not planning to get his book printed out so quickly. That was not the plan. I had to rush it, get a cover design, and get to a printer. The books arrived literally the Friday night before the Freedom Rally arrived at Radisson Hotel in Newport Beach, California. We got a lot of them out that night right there. Yeah, those are the ones. That's it, guys. Thank you. So I'm going to show you the version of his book. The original book was this one. This is now classic. You can't find it anywhere. I got a few copies for myself. It's called Investigating the Federal Income Tax. Okay? Here's the back of it. I put Joe's picture in the back with a gun-carrying agent, you know, because to people that means more. They give you a gun means more. To trust you with a gun and represent the U.S. government. And then the second edition of the book, he did a few years later himself. This is a cover of his second edition of his book that Joe did. And a different cover. Okay? In this one, he put the resignation letters in it himself. The other one had to add his letters to the IRS. The next, he printed on his own. He printed just a photocopy of the exact one he gave to the IRS. You know, not very good typeset, as good as the other ones, professionally done, but that's that. And then Joe came out last year in 2019 with this follow-up book called Investigating the Federal Income Tax. Not a preliminary report, but a report to the American people. Okay? Thicker, but more good stuff in it. Okay? So then, could you give me some of the USA Today ads also, please, if you would? Mm-hmm. And then what happened is that Bob Schultz of We the People Foundation heard about him after I put him out of there. I was the guy put him out to the whole world, Freedom Law School. And he took him out to debate the government in Washington, D.C. And the debates were set up at the National Press Club, which typically the press meet there. A lot of big events in D.C. are done there. And repeatedly, the government would not show up. No one from the IRS, the Department of Injustice lawyers, or Congress would show up. Nobody. And he flew Joe Banister every time, along with others. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me have that too. And they and also C-SPAN, the DVD. Oh, Joe Banister, also please, the C-SPAN video. And so what happened is that eventually, what We the People Foundation did, they put full-page ads in USA Today. Here's a reprint of those ads right here. See that? This is a full-page ad. This is a reprint of that USA that they did. Okay, and then they put in after this first one was paid by a guy named Mike Bodine, $40,000 nonprofit rate. Okay, they put 3 more next year, 2002. The first one was the one without picture right here. No, this one. That was the first one right here. Okay? This one, and then the other 3 were follow-up that was done next year. Yeah, with a box. They're boxed up there. Yeah, they're over there. You can bring it to the box. On the shelf back there. Okay? So, with more people gave money to We the People Foundation. Hey, pitched in. Exposed it to the American people. At one point, Bob Schultz told me that they had on the email list of We the People Foundation over 120,000 people on the email list. That's back in 2002 when email was much bigger than right now. There was no Facebook at the time. You remember? So they started getting more publicity with the People Foundation. So anyhow, then We the People Foundation wanted to put more ads with USA Today, and USA Today said, no more ads for you. We don't want your money. Why? Obvious. They didn't want his money because they were told by the IRS, hey, these guys are making trouble, exposing our criminality and corruption. Okay? And don't give them publicity. So the last ad they did, they put one in New York Times, and this other one they did was with in American Free Press. The American Free Press .net. Best news organization in America tells their freedom. AmericanFreePress.net. Check them out. Okay, become a subscriber to them. Okay, they give you every 2 weeks. They send a newsletter to you in the magazine, in the mail, not just online, in the mail, which is unique. So anyhow, with the People Foundation, gradually kind of went away. Bob Schultz made several tactical mistakes along the way, which biggest one was he didn't stay in touch with me, didn't listen to me. Talking about procedures, legal procedures, what to do, what not to do. I don't want to get too much detail. You know, I love Bob, but you know, that was not the first freedom leader that wouldn't listen to me. Everybody thinks they know it all. They're not open to learning from other people. And that's a big problem. I don't know it all yet. I'm still learning, and I want to learn. I like to find somebody who knows more than me and teaches me something new. I would love that. A lot easier to have someone else teach you than figure it out on your own. I would prefer that, but that was not God's design for me. What I had to do was, in 1999, folks, I had the idea that we should get all the leaders of this movement together and have annual meetings like the Founding Fathers had, like the government enemies they do, and learn from each other, talk to each other, come together, coordinate together, be more powerful, like the Founding Fathers did. It only makes sense, common sense, that we should do that. So back in 1999, I had a meeting in my house in Tustin, California, where I had Irwin Schiff, Lynn Meredith, Sean O'Connor, and Steve Hampton of Free Enterprise Society, Dave Wellington, Bill Conklin, Bob Manerick, I think former Judge John Rizzo also, and one other person. There was like 10 of us there. It was the greatest collection of freedom-minded people together to plan and coordinate and learn from each other. And it was success in some ways, in that we learned. The bad thing was the best marketers, Irwin Schiff and Lynn Meredith, were not willing to learn from those that knew more about law and legal procedure, Bill Conklin, Dave Wellington, and Sean O'Connor. I brought these guys in and said, look, I hope they listen to you. But no, Lynn Meredith and Irwin Schiff would not listen to anybody except themselves. They thought they knew it all. I kept the annual meeting going every year, and I would get new people that were great coming to our fold. I had, over the years, like Joe Banister became a regular member of this annual meeting. Attorney Larry Beecraft, later Attorney Tom Cryer, Paul Baumer, the man who beat the California franchise tax board for a $250,000, and many others, who would have typically between 8 to 10 on the average leaders of the movement get together and learn from each other and teach each other and coordinate. And Peter Gibbons, another one of those good attorneys. And so, of course, the one consistent member always was yours truly. So as a result, I learned the most. I learned from everybody, whatever they had that was positive and good, I learned. I couldn't get John Codmeyer of Save a Patriot Fellowship to show up, for example, unfortunately. John Codmeyer passed away a few years ago in Maryland. He had a good organization, one of the better ones out there. So, and then it kind of eventually, when I came to Florida, that stopped happening. You know, the group got smaller. Tom Cryer passed away, the attorney that beat the Irish come after Tom Cryer. Oh, by the way, Tom Cryer, let me tell you about his story. Tom was an attorney in Louisiana who had found income tax is a fraud and stopped filing paying income tax. IRS tried to shut him up, and they came after him in 2007. Before my freedom rally, somebody called me, told me about him. I said, well, I heard about him just recently, a few days ago, but I don't know how to get in touch with him. And this guy said, well, I know how to put him in touch with you. I said, well, tell him to contact me. I'd love to help and support him. So Tom Cryer called me. I said, Tom, come on down. My lineup of speakers is full, but I'll make room somehow for you to get you up there for a few minutes and raise some funds for you to win, Tom, because a win for you, Tom, is a win for all of us in the freedom movement. So Tom came. I shifted the schedule, made some room for him to go up there for maybe 15 minutes, and raised several $1,000s for him from a crowd right there, $3,000. And Tom was so happy. He said, Peymon, thank you very much. Nobody ever came to my help. You helped me by far more than anybody else with what you did here, my publicity, and all the funds you raised me to help me, win. And also through that meeting of me, he met also Attorney Larry Beecroft of Alabama, a friend of mine, and he represented Tom Cryer. Tom won the trial in 2008. The government dropped some of the charges against him, and the rest he was acquitted. That was it. Punch in the nose of the IRS. That this lawyer beat him, Tom Cryer. In fact, on our YouTube channel, his whole day classes on there. Some of his stuff is on there with Freedom Law School. So Tom Cryer became a member of that group that I mentioned to you, the Freedom Leadership Conference we did. He was in very bad health, drank a lot, smoked a lot, coughed a lot, overweight, bad shape, short of breath, had 2 heart attacks already. He knew it was in borrowed time. Sure enough, a few years later, he passed away, unfortunately. So that was a history working with Tom. He was a good man. As far as my experience with him goes, he made a contribution to the movement. And so the Great Depression of 2008 hurt everybody, including Freedom Law School folks. From 2001 to 2006, 2007, our membership kept growing. And what happened at that time during those years, something interesting happened. IRS was under pressure by Congress to shut down Joe Banister, and everybody that was on internet was getting going. Because internet was bringing us out in the forefront in a big way. They were afraid. Senator John Grassley, who's still a senator, was speaking. How come you're not getting these guys? So IRS looked up at its arsenal of tools. They found that they could, instead of putting someone in jail, which was very expensive and time-consuming, they had to convince 12 citizen jurors to put someone in jail beyond the reasonable doubt level of proof. They could instead shut down an organization and leader, shut them up. That's what they want. By using this method of going to one of their own government paid biased federal district court judges and claiming this guy is a promoter of an abusive tax shelter by whatever his program or package is, and have people not filing pay income tax with it. Whether it was garbage patriot mythology like UCC, common law, yellow fringe flag, I'm a sovereign citizen, not using zip code on my mail, Buck Act, yellow fringe flag, my name in the capital letters, a dead corporate fictional entity, whatever patriot mythology or good stuff. They could drag the guy before a federal judge and say, Judge, this guy's selling an abusive tax shelter, order him to stop, which is an injunction. Injunction means to tell someone to stop doing what they're doing. The injunction And the judge in those civil, that's a civil case, not a criminal case, civil case. Who got a heavier side? Like you sue your neighbor. The judge always sees the government side as being heavier. And the poor governments, their budget, their fisc is in danger of this guy hurting the poor government. The judge always saw that it got to give a tax, it got an injunction against the leader. Everybody out there got attacked. Even some of the guy in the Freedom Price Society even got a small injunction. Say the Patriot Fellowship got closed down. Urban Shift got an injunction. Everybody else got Knight. These other people got injunctions. Dave Champion got an injunction against him. Okay. Then they approached me in 2003. Try to get me with injunction to stop Freedom Law School. So I'm going to show you what happened there. Because this is interesting history of Freedom Law School, okay? You go to Freedom Law School's website, okay? Here we go on our screen, okay? What you want to do, go on the right side to our victories under FLS victories, and open that link up. And under FLS victories, right now that we have it structured, you see number 2. Freedom Law School beats IRS's bogus claim of being an abusive tax shelter, okay? So anyhow, you can open that and you see what happened in short. I'm not going to get into more detail. It's all there. You can see it, the detail. I'll just tell you what it is. You can read it later on for yourself. Details. They wrote to me, they summoned me, they want to meet with me, 2 different letters. And Frank Nixon, the head of the IRS's Laguna Niguel, California office, a major IRS office, the head guy, had inked a letter to me personally to meet with one of his agents. Because to come after me, obviously orders came from the headquarters to him. And I wrote them back. I said, and they're just a bunch of idiots, And they canceled the summons because, it was conflict with their own letters that they wrote to me. I point out their own mistakes. It's in the documents. You can read it on my website. And anyhow, they eventually we never met, but back later on in 2016, they finally, after over 13 years, they closed that investigation. And that is right here, folks. You see right here, click on that. Here it is. This is in 2016. IRS San Diego office, July 11, 2016. Here it is, the letter. They closed down the investigation. That was probably going on, folks. That investigation was probably started in 2001, 2002. Okay, 13 years. So I'm going to go over the victories and my other stuff. That was one of the challenges I had with the IRS was they always want to stop me. But the problem they had is everything I did was free speech, completely First Amendment. I taught you the law, how to read the law, how to understand the law, not to believe the government or me or anybody else out there. I always say that, I always have and always will. Okay? Read the law for what it is and follow it. So they couldn't stop me. So anyhow, when I came to California, folks, and Great Depression hurt Freedom Law School, everybody else out there, our membership went down. And we were going to start picking it up, level out until about 2015, 16. Start leveling out, and 17, 18, things started improving. The economy's better. But back in those years, early years of 01 to 06, every organization would go down. Couple, 3 of their members would hear about us and join Freedom Law School. That was typical. That would happen. But they're all gone. They're all gone. The late Robert Clarkson used to tell me, Peymon, don't diss all these patriot mythology guys that you think they're getting people in trouble with silver bullet, easy answers they claim to have. Don't diss them. They're bringing business to you. They're feeding you. He wasn't wrong. I knew he was right, but I just didn't like the fact that they get people in trouble. Okay, they hurt people too. By summer I get the people in the movement. I'm doing it all myself now, and with your help, when you get the word out there, you tell people about Freedom Law School. That's the only way now, folks. Freedom Law School is it. There's nobody else. Dave Chapman has a good book. Pete Harrison has a good book. They both are fighting. Dave doesn't talk to me. Pete says he knows it all. I want to work with both of them. They don't. Freedom Law School is doing more than all these guys combined. I wish I had somebody else I could work with. I would love to have that. A little bit of assistance would be nice. But, you know, it's you. You, my friends. You are the ones I rely upon to get with Freedom Law School. I guess that was God's design. I'm looking for good people, smart people, loving people, people that care for the truth. I'm depending on you to make America a more loving, peaceful, prosperous, joyous place for everybody by stopping the lies and deception and robbery and hurting of the American people that they're doing. So, in 2014, I came to Freedom Law School, and it was a good thing because California was a golden state. From after World War II through 1970s. Even 80s was still a golden state. But by 1990s, California started going down. And it was going down after year 2000 fast. It became a socialist, communist, one-party state. The new Communist Socialist Party of America misnamed the Democrat Party. They're not liberal. I am liberal. I am generous, giving you a liberal portion, right? And also, something else you tell your friends, I'm very much gay. Okay? I'm a very gay person. I'm very happy. But I'm not homosexual. I got friends, people I know they're homos. Okay? But I'm not. But see, they use words that twist it around. They twist it around. They're not liberal. I am. Thomas Jefferson was liberal. You and I are liberal. They're communist. They build a community. Society should control or provide for everybody. That's what communism and socialism are, folks. Right? So, and I didn't want my family to be there. I didn't want to raise my children there. I had 3 more children since then. So that's why my wife is from Florida. I decided to come to Florida. You know, her family's out here. And I found that Florida is not only the number one lowest tax state in the country, it is. It's also overall the freest state in the country. No state income tax. Only one of the 8 states with no state income tax. And Florida has a low sales tax of 6.5%. Average property tax rate combined with low property house values makes a low property tax also, and low DMV taxes also. Central Florida is where you want to be, between Tampa and Orlando. That's in that area. Ocala, Tampa, Orlando triangle. Close to Tampa, in my opinion, is even better. So that's where you want to be for freedom and good weather and everything. Okay, so came out here, was a great move that came to Florida. I really love it out here. That's why Florida passed New York about 10 years ago in population. Number 1 Florida state in America people are coming to is Florida. Number 2 is Texas. Okay? And so, Freedom Law School now is September 2020. And about a year and a half ago, I started putting videos on YouTube channel in January 2019. For another year before that, I was doing my conference calls on YouTube also. I had conference calls for many years. Since like 2000, I think, 4, I started doing conference calls, audio. But finally, I went video 2019. And this year, 2020, that much better video quality, production, many different ways. So watch our 2020, always the newest ones on our playlists. Look at our playlist, the summary videos, the short videos are the good ones. And then the best ones, the detailed ones are there. Watch those to get the answers that you want. Okay, about freedom law school, about freedom and truth and your rights. So now I've developed freedom law school to a stage that it's going to go for a big transformation forward to help you become a part of freedom solution to return America to freedom, to restore our republic, to restore our freedoms. Right now, we are going through the coronavirus hoax hysteria, pandemic. The whole thing's a hoax. And people are waking up again. They've been lied to and deceived. And that gives us a chance to get these new minds realizing they've been deceived in more than one way. We've lost the control of our public servants and government. It's time to get it back. It's time to get it back, folks. And if you're interested in being a part of getting America back to freedom, love, joy, and prosperity with the truth, bringing freedom to everybody and justice, folks, Freedom Law School is going to be doing that. I invite you to be part of that restoration that's going to be starting. We're getting things together right now. For in 2021, start going up in major ways, getting this country back. So folks, thank you for listening to me. And please watch part 3 on the victories and challenges and battles with the IRS I've had to give you more perspective of my experience, of what I've learned over the years to bring to you, my friends. Hear what I'm bringing to you. And then the last part will be on the future. Thank you for watching.